I wish you all a very happy Engineers Day. Andariki kuda Engineers Day సందర్భంగా హృదయపూర్వకంగా శుభాకాంక్షలు. Before I go into my formal speech, I just wanted to say a few things. I have a lot of friends from JNTU, who've studied here, who've passed, excelled in life, and who actually, some of them actually work with me. I have my chief engineer in HMDA, Shri BL and Reddy Garu, who's also an alumnus of, and I have lots of colleagues, lots of friends from JNTU. I have Raj Shekhar Garu here. Raj, I think you should just, Raj is a senior of mine, actually. He's far older. He looks young, but he's far older. He's also from JNTU. And I have many other friends. So just wanted to acknowledge all of them and thank you for having us here. About 2.5 years ago, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi Garu, he had actually called for a meeting in New Delhi with all the political parties and representatives of political parties. And the theme of the meeting was how to, on the eve of 75th year of independence, how do we create new India? How do we ensure that the next 25 years, post 75, will be vibrant, will be, enough of time to make India a first world country? That was the theme of the meeting. So on behalf of the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, as deputed by our Honorable Chief Minister, KCR Garu, I participated in the meeting and I gave him my 2 cents. I had told him, sir, if you're serious about making India a truly first world nation, making India truly a first world country, a developed country, in the league of the US, the UK, Germany, France and other nations, we have to follow the 3I mantra. He was very curious. He said, what is the 3I mantra? I told him, sir, the first I is innovation. A lot of times when people talk about innovation, and even here in the Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, when we say innovation, people typically think innovation is only associated with technology, innovation is only associated with engineering, or innovation is confined to certain sections of the society. In fact, it's not. Innovation as a concept, innovation as a theme, innovation as an idea, in fact, can permeate into all spheres and all walks of life. If you think about it for a minute, see, we are part of the government, myself, Prashant Reddy Garu, we work under the Honorable Chief Minister. So what did he do in terms of innovation in the last 8 years? He's not just innovated in terms of engineering. He has not just given us enough latitude to create new institutions, innovative institutions. He has also innovated with policy. What am I saying? There was an industrial policy in the United State of Andhra Pradesh much before Telangana state ever came into being. But when the new state of Telangana was formed, our Honorable Chief Minister, he called various industry bodies into a room like this. He sat with them for 7 hours. He let them speak. He was hearing, he was listening. He let them speak. They all poured out their woes. They said, there is no power. There is no guarantee when I'll get a permission. I don't know when I'm going to get my promised fiscal incentives, etc., etc. They reeled out a number of issues. You know what he did? He said, let's do one thing. I've heard you for 7 hours. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to start from scratch. I'm going to send a team of brilliant officers to various countries which have excelled in ease of doing business. We will take their policies, we'll take certain elements from those policies, imbibe them, form the new policy for Telangana, new industrial policy for Telangana, and we'll come out with our own ideas. This was in July 2014, just about a month after the new state came into being. By November 2014, in the Telangana state legislature, we had enacted a new legislation called as TS IPAS. Now, what does TS IPAS mean? TS IPAS basically stands for Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. How did this come about? What was the genesis? What was the thinking behind it by calling it self-certification? When an entrepreneur told Honorable Chief Minister that he did not know how long it would take for him to get a clearance from the government after he or she has applied, he said, why should you even need a clearance from the government? Just like how you have a right to education or right to information, the investor also should have a right to self-certification. As long as you certify yourselves as being in compliance with the law of the land, why should you have a government intrude into that? That was the thinking behind innovation and policy with respect to clearances. That's how Telangana today is the first state and possibly the only state in India where if you as an entrepreneur, any of you in fact, if you want to start a factory tomorrow, you actually don't need a permission from the state government. You don't need a permission from the local municipality. You do not need a permission from the local Gram Panchayat. As long as you certify yourselves that you are going to be in compliance with the law of the land. What do I mean by compliance? The pollution norms, the building norms, the safety norms. If you're in compliance and if you believe you're fully compliant, then you can hit the ground running. You can start construction of your factory on day one. No state in India will tell you that. That is innovation. Simultaneous, because we need to know who's doing business in our state. All we have put in the legislation is that for regulatory purposes only, you have to submit an application online in the TS iPass portal saying this is the nature of the business, this is the quantum of the investment, and this is the employment I am going to create, and this is, the tax I would possibly pay to the state government. And what do we do when we receive that information online? By statute, by legislation that we have enacted in the state legislature about 8 years ago, we promise all clearances in 15 days through a single window, through a single portal. Now the joke in India is, as an entrepreneur, if you go to any state in India, they'll all tell you the same thing. We have a single window system. But the joke is, there are always multiple windows behind that one single window. Hidden multiple windows. But how is Telangana different? Telangana is different because if we don't deliver on the 15-day window, on the 16th day by statute, by legislation, it's an automatic, it's a default approval given to the investor. No state in India will tell you this. And most importantly, from the 16th day, even the senior-most bureaucrat, even the senior-most IAS officer, if he or she is held responsible for the delay in holding up that clearance, I as a minister have the ability, I am backed, I am empowered by statute to levy a penalty of rupees 1,000 per day. So that's how innovation in TSI Pass has resulted on the IAS officer. Now that's how, because of this innovation, because of this reform, in the last 8 years, in case you're thinking, this sounds too good to be true, does it actually work? It has delivered brilliantly. It's cut down red tape, it has cut down corruption, it has cut down basically the time lag, the gestation period as an entrepreneur would call it. And therefore today in Telangana in the last 8 years, we have given more than 20,000 clearances through TSI Pass. We have been able to attract more than 2.4 lakh crores of investment and have created, as Prashant Reddy Garu pointed out, more than 16 lakh direct job potential in our state for our youth. Now that's a simple intervention, simple innovation in policy. Just to give you an example. When I said the 3I mantra to the Prime Minister, the first I, like I said, was innovation. The second I is infrastructure. What do I mean infrastructure? John F. Kennedy, when he was the President of the United States, had famously said, America does not have good highways because it is a rich country. America is rich because it has good highways. That goes to show you how important infrastructure is in a nation's growth. When I say infrastructure, I just don't mean roads or buildings. When I say infrastructure, I mean infrastructure of all kinds. Infrastructure will include power, electricity. It will include water, drinking, and also irrigation. It will include roads, buildings, of course. It will include social and physical infrastructure. Infrastructure can be of various kinds. Now, infrastructure is important for a nation like India because today, just to give you an example, if you look at the electricity needs of our country, we have more than 6 lakh villages in our country, and we have a few thousand cities and towns in our country. 75 years after independence, I don't know how many of you know this, but India is still not fully electrified. Not every single village, not every single home in India actually has electricity, even after 75 years. You may have read in the newspapers recently, when our country recently elected the new President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmuji, after she got elected, after she got nominated as a President of India candidate, her village in Odisha was electrified. This is a harsh reality. See, we are the privileged bunch sitting in Hyderabad, in a city like Hyderabad, and all other, in a state like Telangana, where we give 24/7 power to our farmers, where our power supply is improved dramatically after KCR Garu has become the Chief Minister. We are the privileged bunch. But there are still numerous villages, numerous areas which are languishing without electricity. Now, why am I mentioning this to you? Because the mismatch between the supply and demand again needs a bit of jugaad and innovation. Our country's total installed capacity in electricity is about 4,06,000 megawatts, all forms of power included. It includes firm power, infirm power, thermal, nuclear, hydel, wind power, solar power, all kinds of power, biomass, etc., etc. Now, the total needs of our country, the total electricity demand, the peak demand of our country, which we have ever hit in 75 years, was on the 22nd of June this year, on summer solstice. 21st of June is summer solstice, the longest day in the year, as most of you may know. This year, our peak demand was 2,12,000 megawatts. Our base load is 2,40,000 megawatts. Our total installed capacity is 4 lakh megawatts. Yet we have villages without electricity, yet we have houses without electricity. Now, why is that? Because of this gross mismatch between demand and supply. Demand is there, there's plenty of villages which are lacking. There's industry who wants to run in 3 shifts. And in Gujarat recently in summer 2022, the Gujarat Vikas Nigam had issued a notice saying there would be power holiday for 2 days in a week. Fortunately in Telangana we don't have that situation. The point I'm trying to make is we have this gross mismatch which needs to be synced. In this country, electricity apart, in this country, we are blessed with beautiful rivers, lifelines. We have Himalayas on the top, and there are rivers emanating from that. And then we have rivers from across the border, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from China, etc., which flow into us, from Bangladesh, and then eventually they flow into the ocean, of course. We have Godavari and Krishna in our, we have Ganga, Yamuna, Chenab, Ravi, Satluj. I can go on. There's plenty of rivers. The total water availability in all the rivers combined in India is about 70,000 TMC. 70,000, 70. Now the total requirement for agriculture in India, if you had to irrigate every single arable acre of land in India, is only 40,000 TMC. And if you take also industrial consumption and drinking water needs, that will also add up to another 15,000 TMCs. That means we have more water than what we require. We have 70,000 available to us. Hardly we require 50,000 or 55,000 to satiate our needs, to completely saturate all requirements for farming, for drinking water, and also for industrial consumption. Yet, Telangana is the only state in the country in 75 years of history of independence to have provided a potable drinking water connection to each and every home. 27 other states have not been able to do it. The point I'm trying to make, I was trying to make to the Prime Minister is, we have demand, we have supply. You just need to do the mapping, you need to ensure the proper engineering happens, the proper orchestration happens in such a way that no drop of water goes waste into the ocean. The point I was also trying to make to the Honorable Prime Minister is, we see reports of farmer suicides and farm distress. That need not be the case. If a state like Telangana, you all have your phones, you have your phones with you. Can I request you to please pull out your phone for a second? Please keep it in silent mode, of course. Pull out Google. Please pull out Google and please type in the world's largest lift irrigation project. I want somebody to show me on the screen because I'm not trusting you. Okay, what does it say? Kaleshwaram project. Now the fact is, the youngest state in India, Telangana, which was formed only 8 years ago, was able to execute the largest lift irrigation project in the world in a short span of 4 years, flat. You're all engineers. You're all engineers. We are lifting waters from 82 meters above sea level through a multi-stage lift system using mega pump houses, sometimes running to the tune of almost 139, 140 megawatts, a series of pump houses and pumps. We are lifting the water from 82 meters above sea level to 618 meters above sea level to Konda Pochama Sagar. It's an engineering feat, it's an engineering marvel. How many of you have you seen Kaleshwaram pump houses or Kaleshwaram tunnels or Kaleshwaram reservoirs? Sir, I think you should take the students. I request the professors here and particularly the Vice Chancellor, please send your engineering students to actually explore this marvel of engineering, the world's largest lift irrigation project, Kaleshwaram. Basulu petti pampinchandi, vallaki chupettandi. We'll make all arrangements for you, myself and Prashant Reddy garu. I want you to come explore it. I want you to come explore it. Enduku cheptunnanante, why am I saying this? Wanting you to understand it is, you see, we lot of times Indians, all of us, we are always amusing. We are marveling at engineering feats elsewhere. Have you all heard of Three Gorges Dam? China? Vinnara? Three Gorges Dam kattadu China lo. We talk about other things that are happening elsewhere. China lo, they have built a 100-storied structure in 3 months. Paper order rastadu, manam chautam, TV lo chupettaru, manam chustam. You know it. But we never appreciate. Our Prime Minister says, vocal for local. We should be vocal for local also, no? Our own state has the world's largest lift irrigation project, but we don't take the time out to go see it. We're more interested in seeing other things. My humble request to all of you is, if a youngest, and this was my point to Honorable Prime Minister also. I told him, sir, if a young state can do it with limited resources, a big country like India with a huge budget should be able to pull off this in a record time. If you really want to be a first world country, we have to add infrastructure, we have to improve our infrastructure. First I was innovation, second I was infrastructure, third I is inclusive growth. What do I mean inclusive growth? I am a firm believer that talent or knowledge or wisdom is not individual. It is not, no individual is a repository of wisdom. It is not confined to a JNTU student. Innovation is not confined to a JNTU student. Innovation is not confined, or even knowledge or brain power or wisdom is not confined to a specific section or a specific set of people who are educated in a specific institution. Talent evadi abbasottu kaadu. Prati okkariki devudu burra equal ga ichchadu. Daniki etla padunu pedtamo, danni etla vaadtamo, danto em sadistamo, em create chestamo, that is our ability. to put to test. Point I'm trying to make is, see, think about it for a minute. We're always wondering about, see, all of you are here, all of you use Google. Please raise your hand if you do. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Insta. You know, how many of these are products which have been created by Indians? None. See, we take a lot of pride in Sundar Pichai being Google CEO, right? We take a lot of pride in Satya Nadella being the CEO and chairman of Microsoft. We took a lot of pride recently when Starbucks announced a new CEO who is of Indian origin. We take a lot of pride when Rishi Sunak is running for UK Prime Ministership, right? But how many Indian products have really taken the world by storm? ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఇంటికి వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత కైండ్లీ ప్లీజ్ అబ్జర్వ్, ఇంటికి వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత చూడండి, మీ ఇంట్లో మీ డ్రాయింగ్ రూమ్లో మీ బెడ్రూమ్లో యుల్ సీ ఎ సోనీ, యుల్ సీ ఎ పానాసోనిక్, యుల్ సీ ఎ ఎల్జీ, సామ్సంగ్, అండ్ యాపిల్ ఫోన్. మీరు చుట్టూ చూడండి ఒక్కసారి, మీ ఇంట్లో వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత జాగ్రత్తగా ఎలక్ట్రానిక్ వస్తువులు చూడండి, మీ ఫర్నిచర్ చూడండి, మీ ఫోన్లు చూడండి, చుట్టూ ఒక్కసారి జాగ్రత్తగా చూడండి. ఇందులో ఎన్ని ఇండియన్ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయో ఒకసారి కొద్దిగా ఓపికగా ఆలోచించండి. దే వోంట్ ఈవెన్ బి వన్. చుట్టూ చూస్తే అయితే చైనీస్ ప్లాస్టిక్ వస్తువులు ఉంటాయి, చైనీస్ ఫర్నిచర్ ఉంటుంది, లేదా మనం వేసుకునే బట్టలు కూడా సగం చైనా నుంచి వస్తున్నాయి. ఇప్పుడు పాయింట్ ఏంటంటే, ఎక్కడో ఈ 75 ఏళ్లలో ఇండియా హస్ లాస్ట్ దట్ స్పంక్, దట్ స్పిరిట్, that ignite that we need, that small little thing that we need, that small ignition that we need. ఎక్కడో పోయింది. why am I saying this? ఇప్పుడే నేను ఒక మీటింగ్కి వెళ్ళాను, అక్కడ ఒక ఆయన చెప్తున్నారు, I went to a quality circle forum of India meeting. అక్కడ there was a gentleman who was speaking and he said, I'm amazed by what China has done in the last 25-30 years. Let me tell you a small story. Exactly 35 years ago, back in 1987-1986, the size of the economy of two countries, India and China, was almost the same. We are almost, population wise chuskunte manam 140 kotlu vallu 148 kotlu anukunta, thereabout. The size of economy of both China and India in 1986-87 was $470 billion. $470 billion. Cut to 35 years later, today, present time, 2022. Can anybody tell me what the economy size of China is? $16 trillion. Can anybody tell me what the size of Indian economy is? 3.3 or 3.4 trillion dollars. So iddaramu running race lo okate daggara start ayyam. We both started at the same starting point. Now China is at 16 trillion, we are at 3.3 trillion. They are 5.78 times bigger. Why and how? Enduku em jarigindi? There are three things that have happened. One, single-minded focus of the nation. They said, we are not happy being where we are. We want to be the best in the world. We want to compete with the US. We want to compete with the best of the nations in Europe. And we want to elevate our game. And they were backed by political will. Political leadership had the will, collective will, to back the country. And today, therefore, China has become the manufacturing hub for the rest of the world. China vaadu tummite ikkada manaku sardaitadi. Atlundi paristhiti. Mana akkada dukanam band aithe manaki ikkada maskulu ravu, మనకు మెడిసిన్స్ రావు, మనకి ఏపీఐస్ రావు, యాక్టివ్ ఫార్మస్యూటికల్ ఇంగ్రీడియంట్స్ రావు, ఏది రావు. అట్లా తయారైంది. China has become the factory of the world. Second thing they've done, which they've done exceedingly well, they've focused on value creation. They said అగ్రికల్చర్ పెంచాలి, కానీ పోస్ట్ హార్వెస్ట్ ఎక్కడైతే వాల్యూ యాడ్ చేయాలో, మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్, ఫుడ్ ప్రాసెసింగ్, ఎక్కడైతే వాల్యూ యాడ్ చేయాలి వాల్యూ చైన్లో, హౌ డూ వి మూవ్ అప్ ద వాల్యూ చైన్, దే ఫోకస్డ్ ఆన్ దాట్. దే వెంట్ ఆఫ్టర్ ఇట్ విత్ సింగిల్ మైండెడ్ ఫోకస్. అండ్ ద థర్డ్ థింగ్ they've done, మనమేమో ఇండియాలో we are worried about other things. We are focused on, we are happy comparing ourselves to Pakistan, Bangladesh. They are more focused on US, Australia, Germany, France, all the developed nations. మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం ఇక్కడ? We are more worried, నా పక్కన కూర్చున్నాడు కులమేంది, యువతల పక్కన కూర్చున్నాడు మతమేంది, ఆయన ఏం తింటున్నాడు, కాలేజ్కి ఏం వేసుకొని వస్తున్నాడు, ఏం మాట్లాడుతుండు. మనం గతాన్ని చదువుకోవడంలో బిజీగా ఉన్నాం. వాడెవడో వచ్చి టెంపుల్ గులగొట్టి మసీద్ కట్టిండి, ఇప్పుడు మనం మసీద్ గులగొట్టి టెంపుల్ కడదాం, ఆ చక్కర్లు ఉన్నాం. We are not interested in marching into the future, make our country a glorious nation. We are more interested in digging up the past wounds. పాత గాయాలు తవ్వుకుందాం, కెలుక్కుందాం, ఆ పున్ను తవ్వి మళ్ళీ పచ్చిగా చేసి దాని మీదకి వెళ్ళి కొన్ని ఓట్లు సంపాదించుకుందాం. ఈ పిచ్చి ప్రయత్నాల్లో ఉంది. కులము, మతము, సారీ టు సే దిస్ బట్ ఇట్ ఇస్ అ ఫ్యాక్ట్. సారీ టు సే దిస్ బట్ ఇట్ ఇస్ అ ఫ్యాక్ట్. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ మేకింగ్ ఎ పొలిటికల్ కామెంట్ హియర్. Collectively as a nation, we need to think. If you really want to be a world class nation, what should our focus be? నీళ్లు లేని విలేజెస్, కరెంటు లేని ఇండ్లు, సాగునీరు అందక బాధపడుతున్న రైతు, ఆయనకు మద్దతు ధర రాక బాధపడుతున్న రైతు. మనం చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి ఇంకోటి కూడా తయారు చేసాం. ఆర్ కల్చర్ ఇన్ ఇండియా, we're told from a very young age, from a school age, you only have 2 career options, at best 3. ఏం చెప్పారు చిన్నప్పుడు ఇంట్లో? డాక్టర్ అవ్వాలి, లేకపోతే ఇంజనీర్ అవ్వాలి. ఇంకో థర్డ్ ఆప్షన్ ఏంటి? అయితే గీతే లాయరో లేకపోతే ఇంకోటి. అంతేగాని ఇంకా వేరే ఆప్షన్స్ లేవు. You are always told to be a job seeker. You are told to be work, you are told from a very young age not to dream big. ఎక్కువ ఆలోచించక అడ్డం పడతావు, ఎక్కువ ఆలోచిస్తే కింద పడతావు, ముఖం బలుగుతుంది. అట్లా కాదు, కన్జర్వేటివ్ ఉండాలి, తక్కువ ఇది చేయాలి, మనం ఎక్కువ రిస్క్ తీసుకోవద్దు, అప్పు ఉండొద్దు. అంటే ద థింగ్ ఈజ్, ఆర్ కల్చరల్ కండిషనింగ్, ఆర్ సొసైటీస్ కండిషనింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ అ వెరీ యంగ్ ఏజెస్, ఎట్టి పరిస్థితుల్లో జాబ్ కొట్టాలి అంతే. ఎవరి కిందనో పని చేయాలి తప్ప మనం 10 మందికి జాబ్లు ఇచ్చేటట్టు ఆలోచన లేదు మనకు. మనం ఎందుకు మన దుకాణం పెట్టద్దు, మనం ఎందుకు మన ఎంటర్ప్రైజ్ పెట్టద్దు, మనం ఎందుకు వరల్డ్ క్లాస్ ప్రొడక్ట్స్ తయారు చేయొద్దు. ఆ గూగుల్, ఫేస్బుక్, ట్విట్టర్ ఏమైనా బ్రహ్మ పదార్థాలా, రాకెట్ సైన్సా? మనం కనిపెట్టలేమా? ఒక మోహన్ రెడ్డి గారు ఇక్కడ సైంట్ పెట్టి ఆయన 20,000 మందికి ఉద్యోగాలు ఇవ్వగలితే ఇక్కడికెళ్ళి ఇళ్ళకెళ్ళి ఒక 20-30 మంది మోహన్ రెడ్డిలు రాలేరా? సింపుల్ క్వశ్చన్. ఆయన టైంలో ఇప్పుడు ఆయన ఏం చెప్పారు స్టోరీ? నా టైంలో నేను ఒక పర్మిషన్ కోసం 30 సార్లు ఆఫీసులు తిరిగిన పరిస్థితి ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు సెల్ఫ్ సర్టిఫికేషన్ ఉంది. మీరు ఏమైనా పెట్టాలనుకుంటే నన్ను కలవాల్సిన పని లేదు, జయేష్ని కలవాల్సిన పని లేదు, ఎవరిని కలవాల్సిన పని లేదు. మీ అంతటా మీరు యూ కెన్ హిట్ ద గ్రౌండ్ రన్నింగ్. సెకండ్ థింగ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఇస్, ఆనాడు మోహన్ రెడ్డి గారు ఒక సైంట్ అనే కంపెనీ, ఇన్ఫోటెక్ అనే కంపెనీ పెట్టినప్పుడు ఆయనను గైడ్ చేసేటోడు లేడు, ఆయనకు ఒక ప్లాట్ఫామ్ లేదు, ఏం చేయాలో తెలియదు, గ్రోపింగ్ ఇన్ ద డార్క్. బట్ టుడే యూ హ్యావ్ అ టీ హబ్, యూ హ్యావ్ అ వి హబ్, యూ హ్యావ్ యువర్ ఓన్ బ్లాక్ బాక్ సెంటర్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్సలెన్స్, యూ హ్యావ్ అ టీ వర్క్స్, యూ హ్యావ్ అ టాస్క్. All these institutions that have been set up by the government are there for you. There is a ready-made platform for you. If you have an idea, come to us and you can walk out with a product. You can walk out with an enterprise. We'll show you funding avenues. We'll give you mentorship support. We'll do everything. అరటి పండు మీ చేతిలో పెడతాం, ఒలిచి తినేది మీ బాధ్యత, నాది కాదు. విల్ గివ్ యూ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. ఇంత గవర్నమెంట్స్ కూడా ఒక ఎనేబులర్ మాదిరిగా ఎంటర్ప్రైజ్ని సపోర్ట్ చేసే ఆలోచనలో ఉన్నప్పుడు దాన్ని అందిపుచ్చుకోకపోతే, దాంతో ట్రై చేయకపోతే, ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేయకపోతే, ఇన్నోవేటివ్ జీల్ ఉండి కూడా నేను చేయలేను అనుకుంటే, దెన్ జేఎన్టీయూకి ఇంకో కాలేజ్కి తేడా ఏంటి? యు గైస్ షుడ్ ఎక్స్ప్లోర్, యు గైస్ షుడ్ బి జిలస్, టు థింక్, టు ఎక్స్ప్లోర్, టు బికమ్ ఆంటర్ప్రెనర్స్. డోంట్ జస్ట్ బీ అ జాబ్ సీకర్, బీ అ జాబ్ క్రియేటర్. నేను చేయగలుగుతాను, నేను 10 మందికి ఉద్యోగాలు ఇస్తాను అనుకుంటే కష్టమేం కాదు. ఇంకొక మాట చెప్పాలి నేను మీకు. See, my humble request to all of you is, you look around the world, most of you in fact I'm sure are traveling with your parents or otherwise with your friends etc. to other parts of the world as well. You can clearly see a difference when you go from India to another country and come back. You'll feel the difference. You have to realize that there are so many opportunities in the offing. Now, if you go to the US, they're probably 50-60 years or maybe 100 years ahead of us. If you go to another country in Europe, they're also probably a few decades ahead of us. What you need to realize is, if India has to get to that stage, even if it's an accelerated growth, whatever that other country had to go through in terms of a learning curve, in terms of the opportunities they were able to create, same opportunities will exist in India right now. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to be able to latch on to those opportunities. There was an Amazon that was created in the US. Somebody else created a Flipkart and a Snapdeal here. You could be a copycat even if you want to succeed and create an enterprise. There are so many things you could be doing at this point in time in India because there's no dearth of capital. So I urge all of you, as part of this ICIET, to please don't confine yourself to discoveries and innovations which are purely technology or science related. Please think big. The societal needs of India, the current needs of India. In fact, your Center of Excellence, Black Buck. So your team had showed me, Anuradha Tota and her team had showed me, some things that they've done in robotics. So they were talking about autonomous vehicles. I said, India lo autonomous vehicles nadustayantara ani adigaru. Ippudu mee JNTU bayata raddi etlunta road cross chestada, a footover bridge ekte tappa cross cheyalem atanti paristhiti. India lo మరి autonomous vehicles మనం లేన్ డ్రైవింగ్ చేయం, మనకు అలవాటు లేదు. నా దగ్గరికి ఒక 5 ఏళ్ల కిందట ఒక అమెరికన్ కంపెనీ వచ్చింది. వచ్చి వాళ్ళు they were telling me, sir, we have a beautiful new software and algorithm which will give you a trigger, which will give you an alert to your command control center. If somebody cuts across into your lane abruptly, మేము మీకు మెసేజ్ పంపిస్తాము కమాండ్ కంట్రోల్ సెంటర్కి అన్నారు. అంటే నేనన్నాను, అంటే లేన్ కటింగ్ చేస్తే నేనన్నా అట్లా కాదు, 1-వే ట్రాఫిక్లో ఎవరైనా నా మీదకి వస్తే దానికి ఒక అలర్ట్ అంటే నాకు పంపించను. ఆయన అడిగాడు, అదేంటి సార్ అదేం అవసరం అన్న. ఐ సెడ్, వెల్కమ్ టు హైదరాబాద్, వెల్కమ్ టు ఇండియా. అంటే ఐఎమ్ నాట్ జోకింగ్, ఐఎమ్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు టెల్ యూ సంథింగ్ హియర్. మన సమస్యలకి మనమే పరిష్కారం ఎత్తుకోవాలి తప్ప అమెరికా కూడా వచ్చి మన సమస్యలు పరిష్కారం చేయలేదు.